we're raw dogging on here. I don't know.
We are raw
Not-
dogging
not just-
GMing,
yeah,
guys,
no, we
right
are.
now, right here,
right now.
and
With
we're
this man.
pulling it from the ether.
Yeah.
We'll just use our theater voices.
We'll just do the thing. I'm not in full garb, but I'm here. I am dressed. I'm even wearing clothing.
You're wearing clothing, yeah.
So for someone who has, at times struggled with depression, that is not an unsubstantial thing.
So what's the new book? The Dungeon Master Wears No Clothes. Welcome everybody to GM Rants, and I'm Vino Veritas. This is my fantastic counterpart, Angel. Do you go by? Do you have a last name? Do you just go by Angel?
Angel, like Sharon Madonna.
Yeah, yeah.
One. No.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want want anybody to know your last name and be mysterious. I want to put you out there.
And the Angel Gamble, if you want to look me up.
Yeah. Look up Angel Gamble. All right.
Mm.
So let's talk about stories. What do you throw out while you're going? How much do you improvise? How much do you prepare? And how much railroading do you do?
Right. Okay, so this is a huge topic, and the answer is it varies quite a bit. So I have a super sharp player, Tobias. You know who you are. You know what you've done. And Toby has a mini game that he likes to play when he's one of my players, which is to try to decide what points I'm improvising in at what point was pre-planned. And so I have challenged him for that, and I am happy to report that I ran a campaign once, a mini campaign, which was supposed to be the fall of the Old Republic, old West End 1980s Star Wars. So this was like before the Sith were thing and all that stuff. It was kind of a different universe actually back then, because it's just the 3 original movies. And I'm happy to report Toby could not tell. And I went out of my way in that campaign. Justin, who is here with us in the studio right now, he too played in it. And I've set the goal as a chronic over-preparer, Krishna. I set the goal for myself of just goblin and a top hatting that crap. And so I had the barest sketch of, okay, this is how I want to portray the Old Republic falling, because I never I've never liked the approaches to it before. I've never really cared for them. I always thought that the Jedi went down kind of easy for an order that's been around for thousands of years. I kind of thought that Palpatine was, I'm sure this could be a hot take and people disagree with me, but I did not think that his level of manipulation was sufficient to get around, the likes of Yoda, etc. And so I kind of had a really different take on it, but still with the same, themes of, because I love themes, themes pervade everything that I do creatively. So the same themes of apathy and corruption and decay, both moral and political decay, that goes hand in hand with corruption, but is not synonymous with corruption. Those are different things. One kind of feeds the other, though. So, in the to try to make this a little bit more coherent, like in the Gold, Green, and Red campaign, the original campaign for Darkport. Oof, that takes us into that might actually not be the best example I can answer it, but I have learned so much about being an online GM, a streaming GM, vice just playing with friends and family, that those are almost two, there's a Venn diagram, but they're almost two unrelated skill sets, really. It's very, very different. The things that I find challenging are quite different stream-wise versus in person. But to just give a percentage to it, maybe 70-30, maybe 70% of it's planned out, 30% improv, but it really depends on the scene, depends on the session, even depends on the player. Um, so like Donnie will just go back and forth with me, and I trust him enough that he will jump into an NPC sometimes while we're doing the thing, and and he'll just run with it, and he understands, he inhabits that world. He understands what that world, what the beats are in that world. He understands what the resources are in that world, what the cultural um, contexts are of that world, etc., etc. So that with a player like that, you can just riff. You can really riff. Um, yeah. So how about you?
So sometimes I go into it with a lot planned out. Sometimes I'm just like ready to like feed off of the players, and I want to get into that in a little bit. But I do want to. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I did want to talk about Goblin in a Hat
Oh,
a little bit.
sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, let's review that phrase. What's the etymology of
I do. I have two.
intimins at that?
Ooh, good. See, this is why we do the thing. Two quick apologies to our, as we call them in Dark Portland, faraway friends. One, before this started, well, not just before this started, but earlier, I bit my tongue because I have ridiculously pronounced incisors, and so if I sound like I'm talking with marbles in my mouth, that is why, because I'm trying not to use that part of my tongue. So there you go. The other thing is that I actually, that's not true. I can already feel the cortisol levels going down, but I don't know. I felt, we'll circle back around to that, but I was having an experience. This is the first time I've been in this space, and so I was having this experience when we went out to the stunning view that you have on the porch, and I was noticing something about my body and my reaction to that, and then that kind of took me on a whole thought spiral. So I'm just gonna put a pin in that, which does tangentially relate to game mastering, because it's very difficult to be creative. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to divorce yourself from what's going on when you're being creative. Like, you have to be, at least I have to be, like, super disciplined to be able to do that if there's like chaos and difficulty going on around. Not in this beautiful space, but elsewise. So Goblin in a top hat is this. I don't actually know where it started, but there is a GM out there. These things are also apocryphal, so I don't even know if I looked it up, if I would trust that was how it started. But supposedly, and I'm feeling very ignorant right now. I did not come up here with a phone. We're raw dogging on here. I don't know.
We are raw dogging, GMing, guys,
no,
right now, right here,
right now,
and
with
we're
this man.
pulling it from the ether.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I should know.
Goblin in a hat.
I should know
Goblin
this.
in a top hat, or
It's
Goblin
a top,
in a
no,
hat?
it's a top hat.
Oh, definitely. Okay,
I should know this.
That's like, just because you can't just say Goblin in a hat.
No.
Like, you
no,
got to
it has
have
be
a
top
little
hat.
more description on it to
So-
make that stuff work. So
No.
you got to be Goblin in a top hat.
You
Right.
do, and so supposedly the story goes that the GM, wrote down Goblin in a top hat, and that was the only note that he had for the entire session. And he walked in there, and of course everyone had a wonderful time. Now, have I done that before? Yeah, I've done that before. Do I enjoy doing that more than I used to, actually? We're supposed to get more closed down, and in some ways more conservative as we get older. As I've gotten older, I feel like I've gotten braver creatively, and I feel like I'm very aware of the passage of time and like the need to, and that's a whole topic, and you and I have talked about this before. Um, ooh, um, Gosh, it's not there. There's a perfect Japanese phrase for that. Uh, just about the awareness of like the preciousness and the inherent sadness of the passage of time, and how you never get that back. But anyway, I feel like I always want to iterate, and I always want to do better than I've done before in life. writ large, but just in GMing, like in particular, like in storytelling. And I call it storytelling because of the tradition that I come from. And I always want to do something that I haven't done before, and I want to do something better than what I've done before. The streaming GM thing has threw me through such a loop for like at least the first year. Like, it's a little embarrassing how long it took me to get oriented to it, that I don't know. God, this is like on video, but like, I don't actually know that it's the best campaign that I've done. And I want it, like, it means so much to me because it's not really my story, it's the story of the Fallen. And like, it's very important to me that that's done well and respectfully. And I don't feel like I'm at the height of my powers when I'm there. There are nights where I'm like, okay, like, it's there, but the format, like, I'll just give you one piece, Krishna. So industry standard, or so I thought, was like, you have a GM screen. I'm a really physical GM. You've never played in a like a long form, sit down with me before, and we need to remedy that soon.
Yes, we do.
Like, we do. But like, I am, Justin, like, I am a physical GM. I act things out. I'm very much, like, show you things, but I also try to be a subtle GM. And so if I have an NPC and she has a tell, she may lie when she does this with her hand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's for the players to really pay attention and to reward players, because I'm inviting them to inhabit a world with me. So you have to, it's correct, I think, to reward them for being in that world and really dialing in. You can't do that. I can't do that. Also, I'm short. So like, I can't do that behind a freaking GM screen. So I have to do like Power Ranger GM stuff,
Yeah.
To get it across. Plus it's muted because it's not in the room. So anyway, that's just one, like, that was a hard adjustment for me to make. I won't even go into like the sound stuff and the mic stuff, and our producer went like above and beyond to try to replicate the home experience as much as humanly possible. But like, it's just, you just have to be aware of things, and that's a topic for another time, maybe a topic for another episode or whatever, but like, whew. Anyway, so yeah, there you go.
Let's touch on this little piece right there that I thought was really awesome, was the tell. Like, when you're playing a character, having a physical tell when they're lying.
Super
that is so cool. And that's, I didn't think about that before. I'm always just like, roll for insight. See, what do you think? Do you think they're lying? And I guess I usually, if I'm playing a character that is lying to the party, I'll try to hint at it in like my voice, but using the mannerisms to give a tell, and usually like I'm used to like taking a different posture for each character, like, oh, I'm Bethany right here. I will be able to take care of all of your nightly needs. Like, yes, the crown is coming after you, young one. Right? So I'm like, I like to be up, and I don't GM sitting down. So like, I'm always going around.
I've noticed
and so I can I can fully go, like, I need a lot of space to do what I want to do.
No, and your table presence is outstanding. I mean, you command the table that you're at.
That's right. That's my table. I'm in command of that table.
It's really good in a good way. Like, I mean, like, in a really, you're exhorting your players to open their imagination, to have a good time, to try things they maybe wouldn't try normally. I really, like, I have played at your table, and it's fun as hell.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I always have fun, and I'm always hearing my theater teacher, Miss Tatum, like, in the background. Dead air. Like, if we were on stage and like there was any type of dead air, like it was a constant, just like, do something. say something, have something going on, and so I'm always trying to do something, and then I'm always trying to bring that out of the player too, is and I'm going to kind of walk them through what, you know, if they're not sure what to do, like I'll try to give them suggestions and kind of walk them through, like having that air, like I always like, oh, that is like almost a cardinal sin, or
That's so funny. Do you know? And I like that. That makes complete sense to me. May I offer a counterpoint to that?
yeah.
So one of the reasons why, you know, we call each other like counterpart, I think I started that, but it was something to the effect of we really are like the inverse of each other from a jamming perspective. So for me, I had only known gaming as very long form, you know, like the last campaign that our, you know, that producer Justin was part of, Toby was part of, like that was a 7-year campaign, and that's normal for me. 7 to 10 years is about normal for me. And things can be happening concurrently. You know, you can have different campaigns for when different people are available, but like they're all just kind of in this creative, you know, melange together. And so I have the incredible luxury and privilege of being with these really smart, really damn good players for years. And you almost have to have like a slow burn to things, you know. I've always said like I'm a much stronger GM after the first year of a campaign, because then you can start to see, oh, that's why he decided to do that. Okay, that's why that was delayed. That's why, you know, because I start to be able to weave the fibers together, which is why I feel like now, like in Gold, Green, and Red, what we're doing, I feel like these episodes, these sessions, because I know they're episodes, but like sessions is how I still think of them. These sessions are the strongest that we've had yet, because it's finally really starting to gel. And so one of the pieces of advice that I give to young GMs is completely contradictory to what you're saying and to your style. So I love this for us. I tell them, when you stop speaking, you can judge the health of your table by what happens. And so when I stop speaking as the GM, I listen, and I know that I have a healthy table if the play does not stop. So one of the second, I promise I'm not trying to just sneak this in. One of these other very hard adjustments I had to make was that my style of jamming, I openly encouraged sidebar conversations to happen while the main narrative was happening. And there were some very important relationships that came of that, you know, romantic and otherwise, and in character and out of character, you know. But like, I mean, it's just there was this social swirl, this vortex, if you will, you know, of like controlled chaos going on. Sometimes, at least, there were moments where everybody would you know, we'd all dial in on the, you know, main event or whatever. But that's one thing that I would use to judge how into it people were and how well they were receiving. I would stop speaking. They would go into a room where there are no NPCs, there are no anything, or they'd be traveling or whatever. And then a lot of times I would get these incredible scenes that I had nothing to do with, all off of the strength of speculation and debate and camaraderie and rivalry. I mean, it's amazing. It's magic when that happens, Krishna. It really is. And that's so it was like, what a privilege. I will just tell you, this man is incredibly brave. Like, I've told you this before, like you're braver than I am. So you will just like go up to anybody like fearlessly and start like, hey, you want to, you know, how were you phrasing it? Like, you want to play? Run a dungeon? Or like at Gen Con, there was a phrase, there was a phrase you were using. I can't.
So, man, in the moment, like, it's kind of crazy when I'm doing that stuff, because I kind of like get into a zone, and I just start, you know, just pulling it out of nowhere. And what would I say? Like, are you ready to roll? Or because usually it's like someone like is
you have the great props.
The huge die. It's either the giant die or
do we have that right here? The giant die.
I have a giant die. Like, not the giant die, but a giant die.
Merely one of many.
We can pull it out.
Right.
So yeah, so it's like I'll be walking along and be like, "Hey, adventurer, are you ready for?" Because usually people are like, "Well, can I roll that die?" It's like, "Yeah," but first, what is your name? What is your quest? What is your favorite color? And then what
Yep.
is your special ability or finishing move, right? And they just wanted to have fun and just like take that die and roll it, and I lassoed them into an adventure right there.
Just like that.
And like, yeah, it's and I don't just go up to like someone who's like not looking at me. It's like, but if someone like sees the die or sees the mimic and like is like reacting to it, it's like, oh yeah, that's it. And I'll go up to her like, yeah, and I'll hand it over there. Why don't you give it a roll? That's it. And then when they take it, you know, if I offer that, like, why don't you give it a roll? And once they take it, it's like, okay, they're about to roll.
Yeah.
I go, hold on a second,
call to
real
adventure,
quick.
yeah.
We're starting the game right now, like, and they're like, what? But I can get their name, their quest, and, like,
WHUT. What?
yeah. So I can get that adventure started real fast. But yeah, usually if there's the eye contact or just the comment or something like that, and they're right there. They did do for a larger group. I kind of came up with a little announcement when people were waiting for there was a Jenny D and Pointy Hat panel, and people like were lining up, and I was like, okay, well, has waiting in line got you down? Well, let's find a way to turn upside down that frown. And yeah, it was, yeah. So it might be nice if you roll some dice, huh?
Did you go to that same panel?
No, it was a different panel. It was a Jenny D and Point. Yeah.
Because I went to
there was another.
There were a couple. Okay,
there was a couple.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right.
Like you went to
Just
the.
like, how the heck did I miss you?
Yeah.
Right?
No, you. Yeah. I was on the Sunday one.
You know? Yeah.
I think you were on the Thursday or Friday one.
Yeah,
we were
on one of the earlier ones.
Yeah. You're which I wanted to go to, but I think I was just exhausted from walking around.
It was a lot.
Gen Con, y'all, was a
lot.
And I stayed up a little bit too late, goofing around
a little bit.
And so like I woke up late and I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna miss this panel, shit, because it's like, well, if I rush right now, I might be able to make it, or I can just like relax here for a little bit and not worry too much, because there's a lot of Gen Con in front of me.
You were wise.
So yeah,
and that was your first Gen Con.
Yeah, my first Gen Con. But this was the first time you actually got to experience Gen Con, because first one you were just you were running table after table after table.
We will talk about that.
Yeah.
We will talk about that maybe in another episode.
Well, that's a whole episode.
But it was I will never do that.
The marathon table running.
I will never do that again. I will never do that again. But I felt very strongly that like the troop, that Darkport had to establish a benefitus, you know, with the Gen Con folks, and like, yes, we can do this. Yes, it will be very good. You know, blah 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 blah. And no, I only ran one table. It was really fun. It was nice. Yeah, we just got to kind of hang out.
I think I want to run a table next year.
You totally should.
Dude, I want to do it as Thor and run the Marvel game. I think.
Yes.
I think
yes,
I think that would be.
That's great.
That should, like, yeah, it'd be, and it would be the whole gimmick would be like, you're gonna help Thor. Like, he just picked up the reality gem, but he was when he was trying to get back to his own time, he got lost, and now there's Hydra agents, and then we got to take out the Hydra agents. Yeah, so I totally got a really fun idea, because it's like it's basically in line with the story that I tell, like, as Thor, right? Because like I have Mjolnir. If we're gonna go out, like, we're gonna get a little cosplay in here, so I go around as Fat Thor.
You kind of have to.
I have Mjolnir with me, and they're like, okay, where are you in the storyline? It's like, well, I went to Asgard in the past, picked up the Infinity Stone. On my way back, got waylaid in Midgard, and I'm on a party down. right now.
Did someone ask you that?
Yeah. It's multiple times. Yeah, so I had to come up with
Wonderful.
the exact
Good for
spot
them.
where this Thor is coming
Good for
from.
them. You go, my fellow geeks. You keep it real.
But so to get back to how I plan for games is I'll have some stuff that's very meticulously written out, and some stuff where I just have the general idea. So, for example, recently I'm doing a series of one shots, Curse of Strahd, because I had a big map that the players were
which
exploring.
is amazing.
I was so nervous when this happened because I did it to myself. I had a giant map where everybody was exploring, and in that map I put an Easter egg of okay, if they go to this spot, this like northern spot by the mountains, it's kind of like surrounded by foothills and stuff like that, hard to get to. But if they end up there, then I'll run Strahd for everybody, and I'll figure out how to do it. And so they were going around, opening up all the the teleportation circles that were closed for 1,000 years, finding like the dragon's armory and finding the artifacts of dread.
This is a Tiny Minotaur.
This is my Tiny Minotaur Thursday night game, where it's just a series of one shots that's interconnected.
Official GM for Tiny Minotaur, y'all.
And then I had the map out, and like at the end of each session, it's like, where do you want to go next? And they're like, well, let's go to that city right there. And I'm like, you don't want to go there. And it's like overcast all the time. You can't really see the sun. The guy that runs it is a total jerk, right? And they're like, no, we'll go. And so they ended up going there, get stuck in the mist, and now they're trying to figure out how to get out. So
that fucking mist.
Yeah, fucking mist. And so there was a session where after they got out of the town of Barovia, was like, well, you could go up the river, or you can go through do the on land, right? See if you like. So they found a goblin that had a boat, got on that boat.
Not on a top hat.
Yeah, no top hat.
Okay.
He had a sailor hat. So the goblin in a sailor hat.
There are top hats in Curse of Strahd. There actually are.
There's top hats everywhere.
In Death House, there's yeah, okay. Tavio too.
So they get in this boat and they're going through the river, and like they're fighting some monsters, trying to keep up. There's and the minions of Strahd are like on the water's edge. They don't want to get across the water.
Right.
But they're always like eyeballing them as they go. And then they come across the Water White. And so I went to Photoshop, took a picture of Walter White from Breaking Bad, made him like a
Breaking Bad.
What did I say?
Baking Bad.
Baking Bad. No.
I mean, that would be a really cool show as well.
Baking Bad.
He did lots of Baking Bad.
Is when you're making cakes and you're putting in nail files in the cakes. And like to get people.
I just thought that was like him cooking the meth, So it's like Baking Bad,
No, it's a totally different show.
Can we say that? I don't know. I hope we can say that.
We can say whatever we want.
Okay. Thank you, Krishna.
So I photoshopped like the Walter White from Breaking Bad as like half water elemental. I just kind of put that together, and like he's the Water White. And you have to fight his like crystalline water monsters as he got through, but eventually like they had to befriend him because like he's the one that is making the water like impassable for Strahd and his minions. And so I took his "I'm the one who knocks" speech, like switched it around and like and put Strahd in there. Like, you think that I'm just some sort of vampire going door to door asking people for me to let me in? No. I am the one who knocks, right? And like so I prepared that whole speech about him. I prepared like what he looks like and like what his minions are going to be like and what they have to like convince them to get across. So like I'll prepare like a really detailed part of it, but then other parts I kind of leave like very open to depending on how they're gonna do. And like sometimes it's like they get
I'll take that approach too.
They get to the Valaki. How do you pronounce it? Valaki?
Velaki.
Valaki.
Yeah.
They get the Valaki, and there's a Sun Festival going on.
It's fiction, so who knows? You know?
Yeah, there's the Sun Festival going on. Hey, put in the comments how it's pronounced, and I bet there's
Correct
gonna
us,
be,
please. Yeah.
Hopefully there's a bunch of them that you guys are fighting in the comments is what we want, battling over the correct pronunciation of
Walkterhouse.
Walk that house.
Yeah.
So. Well, yeah. So I'll have some like really detailed parts and then some open parts during like the Sun Festival when they're going through the streets, you know, and then I'll just make up stuff as like, oh yeah, you see there's the people dancing in like this one area, there's a meat vendor, and then let me go to the meat vendor. It's like, okay, cool. Then I'll come up with like what meat they're making and like how it is, and they can have a whole interaction. But if they're not going to interact with like the dancing, I didn't do a whole story for the dancing contest.
What you're describing there, that is the special sauce. There are not that many humans who can spin that kind of depth of story extemporaneously. That is a hard skill, and that's not something that I always succeed at, you know. Anyway, I just want to draw like a bold line under that, because the preparation, I'm not going to say the preparation is easy, it isn't, but meeting that preparation with story that's just as good, that's off the top of your head, is difficult. That's difficult, and that is when I feel like my brain is on fire at the end of a session, when I've just been like doing that, and where nobody can tell, hopefully, you know, where I stitch together the seams.
And then I had a arm wrestling competition. So I just rattling off different things, right?
Yeah.
And then of course the Van Halen, the dwarf bard / fighter.
Van Halen.
He has an axe, which is a guitar and axe. And he's like, oh, I want to do the arm wrestling competition, and like, so I came up with this Dragonborn off the top of my head, who like very burly. He was like 3 years running the winner of this competition.
This was all at Gen Con?
No, this was yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay.
This was yesterday at Tiny Minotaur.
Okay.
Yeah, where they're
sorry. Right. I got
Valaki. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
that was my brain.
I was talking about like when I actually have, like, as opposed to the 5-minute dungeons, the guerrilla or street D&D.
The street D&D.
I don't have anything planned.
No.
Like, it's I get their quest, and then I'll kind of weave that in. I'll look around and see what's happening, and there's a giant brick wall. Oh, yes, and the brick wall is alive, right? Whatever. I just look around and kind of make something up of what's that. But when I have a set game that I'm planning for, like a 2, 3, 4 hour game, then I'll have stuff that's like very specific, and then stuff that's just kind of off the cuff. And I didn't know which game that they were going to want to engage with. Right, so I didn't write a whole thing for every game because I don't have the time to do that, and so I just made up this Dragonborn who is 3 years running, just been kicking everybody's ass in arm wrestling, and like he was like I started out like, oh yeah, and so the Dragonborn is and a dwarf are going back and forth on the arm wrestling contest, and when Van Halen comes up and he says, oh, I want to be the next, and the Dragonborn like looks over, and like the arm wrestler just stops in place. He looks over like, you, and he bam just like beats him real quick, right? Because it shows that he was just playing with that guy, right? And so he brings him up, and like he wins the check, defeats the Dragonborn arm wrestling, and then everybody's like picking up all on his shoulders and like cheering and stuff. So we got a whole thing. And so that was just kind of an off the cuff piece, right? So I'll plan for spots that are going to be off the cuff, and then I'll plan for stuff that's going to be a little more structured. And I'm always trying to steer everybody, because the way my game is, I don't know who's going to show up each week. I do have like a set of a group of people that come back very regularly, and I have people that have been playing for 2 years now, and they're awesome, but they're not always there every week, right? And we got a lot of people that are coming their first time playing D&D, first time playing in this session, and so I always have to be that game that is a one shot that's connected to like the overall story. We got to have a little bit, maybe a little bit of RP, a little bit of puzzle in there, and a little bit of combat in there. And like there's different levels depending on what day it is. You know, I might have a lot of puzzle stuff in there, and like minimal combat, or some days would be a lot more combat.
And remind us how many people you're running at a time, Krishna.
So I think I had like 13 people last night. And that's, that is the very manageable. That's very manageable. It's like, yeah, when it gets to like 20 or more, that's when it gets kind of tough. So yeah, so
is that all?
Yeah, that's so like my games, yeah, I'm railroading, right? Because like I'm giving them the call to the adventure, and like it's gonna be their job to like pick it up. Like how we interact with that, yeah, sure, it's a railroad, but my railroad's the fucking Orient Express. Okay, sit back, relax, roll some dice, and get ready for the murder. There's gonna be lots and lots of murder.
We should talk about another night. We should talk about plot structure and how we do plots. And actually, because I've evolved quite a bit on that, I used to do plots, so now I'm actually start with theme.
Okay.
And I don't start with plot anymore.
Does the theme like inform like plot where you're?
It absolutely does. But it is a fundamentally different experience. Both creating a world, like a setting appropriate for a theme, and then also how you build NPCs and how you build societies when you are doing all of that in service of a theme instead of a plot. So it's an interesting, like you were just talking railroad, and I was thinking like, when was the last time I had a really good like, all aboard, like, all right, assholes, we're just gonna take this train. I don't care what's going on. This is what's happening,
Yeah.
Oh, you're going over there, and then a meteor falls down out of the sky and smashes and squashes you. All right, grab your guy, resurrect his ass, and we're gonna keep on going. That kind of thing. No, was that a good? I wanted to say something about LARP real quick, but
yeah.
Were you done? What were you done?
Yeah, well, I'm never done.
No, well,
but I will pause myself.
Was that a?
Yeah, but that's the conclusion of that that idea of how I put together.
So like a central
the balance of the how much I'm going to prepare versus how much I'm just gonna let be free.
Right. Big central. No, and I'll absolutely construct it that way sometimes, where I have like a big central piece. I know that in depth, and then it's like, then you just kind of, well, in your case, you're just doing it, but like, like hopefully one knows the world really well, and then you can pull these things, out. And if not, then you're just like, okay, what's happening at a party? What's happening at a festival? No, I wanted to say, part of the LARP background. And I definitely have done more tabletop than LARP, but there was a fair bit of LARP. There was a point in time when I was in the military where it was basically either you're doing LARP or you're not going to get to game. So it was LARP, and that is where I learned to do a lot of the physicality and imbue characters with. So I guess I don't know if we'd started recording yet, but like I was. Apparently I'm in the minority, but it so often happens in my life. Like I was not one of the theater kids, and so that is really where I kind of got that, like that the physical acting chops was in LARP, where you have to embody these characters, and it could be really hard too, because you're talking like you're supposed to be playing this huge character, you're supposed to be playing this little teeny character, you're supposed to be, I don't think I will ever try to LARP a female character again, but I did for about a year, and that was a hard, that was a challenge, like to try to really embody that character, and it was very, very interesting. That's another one though, like how your posture changes your mindset, you know?
Hmm.
Like I would just like keep thinking I'm more delicate than anyone in this room. I'm smaller than anyone in this room, and like remind myself of that and take up less space and make sure that I didn't bump into men. And like that, it was, I don't know, it was an interesting one because it was a kind of a reserved like physically delicate character too that I was playing. So, obviously very easy for me to, I'm such a delicate ballerina in real life, that like so yeah, that was just part of it. And I don't know how long you wanted to go, but I also wanted to talk about kind of creativity under duress, but I
No,
don't
no,
but
we're in this for the long haul. This is like going to be a 4 hour
that is that
session.
is that what
You ain't got nothing to do in the morning, do you?
well, then next time your ass is gonna pick me up, and we're gonna and we're gonna do the thing. And I would love,
Yeah, we could go as long as we want, as long as we want. I have the whole weekend
I love that.
free.
No, I love
Because I knew like last several times that we talked, we kept going, and we could have kept going if it weren't for,
How long did
the world going around
that.
us.
How long did we talk at Epoch?
At Epoch, yeah, Epoch was like 4 a.m. something like that.
It was
It
at
was
least
4 or 5,
I
right?
think it was 5 hours.
Yeah, it's probably about 5 hours.
Crazy.
It went by like that.
That was crazy.
And I was like, why weren't we recording this whole time?
No, I know.
That was like 5 episodes we could have had right there.
This is how this started. No, I walked out. So I walked out onto the balcony. Oh, let me go back. One of the things about doing this gig, the way that I have structured it and the way that Darkport has structured it, is that the pace is relentless. You just do the thing, you do the thing, you do the thing. And you're doing a weekly, like you're doing a huge weekly event too, and you're doing other things. So like you get it, like you understand, even though they're really different events. And for reasons that I will perhaps at some point in the future be able to discuss, this has been a week.
Yeah,
Because
reasons.
Leave it at that. This has been a week, and I walked out, and you have a stunning view, and I don't use that word very often about something like that, but like that really is beautiful. I walked out there, and Krishna, I could just feel how I could feel my usually subdued agoraphobia just like rushing up. And I'm like, that is really interesting. I know that I am stressed like hell right now because that only happens when that particular twitch of my psyche only happens if I'm under a lot of stress. Otherwise, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We're just kind of here doing the thing. And and I said it was tangential, but it is tangentially related. Like trying to continue to create, like have my, oldest friend and producer here. That's one of the reasons I keep looking over there. That like, how do I want to say this? That you're running this essentially weekly show, actually two for me, because we do Curses Draw, and then which we record on Sunday, and then we do the live show on Tuesdays. And 2 more weeks we're on hiatus, but that's really not a good word because we're never on hiatus. And like what it takes to be able to step out of that distress and like still create at what I hope is a high level. That's not for me to judge, that's for other people to judge. Which is also really interesting. That's also a really interesting thing too. Because much like writing a book, you can never, it doesn't matter how beautifully crafted you think something is, it's always about how the person receives it. Because ultimately we're trying to communicate. Yeah, and just like examining where my head has had to go, where my body has had to go. Finally doing yoga again, which feels really good. But like, yeah, trying to continue to create when you're just awash in the world, and some particular things. and then because the last thing I'll say about that is like feeling my own, because we're just, I think you already know this about me, but you haven't known me very long. Like, I don't screw around at the surface levels, just go right there. Like, and feeling feeling the shame that outside that outside influences are like able to crack the force field of my creativity.
Yeah.
Like that should be enough. It should be transcendent. It should be, the art should be enough to stand on its own. It doesn't matter what the hell is going on. I should just be able to do this thing. And then like, it's really hard to do this thing.
Creation is tough stuff, and it's not like, oh well, I'm gonna sit down and do some creation right now, and that's gonna be I'm gonna get this in 2 hours. I'm gonna get XY pages knocked out. No, like it's
God,
you have to.
God, if only.
Yeah. I mean, you can try to force something, but it's not gonna be very good. I'm gonna hate whatever I try to force myself out, but the stuff that I just kind of like let brew, and if I'm not in like a mental space because of outside factors that are like cracking that that creative egg that's in there, there's always stuff trying to like peck at it, and if I'm not going to create, I'm going to do something else to try to like clean those external factors out. And sometimes it's really hard. You got to take a lot of time to clean those external factors out, and then the creation can happen. And that's what I see like from a lot of artists, where they're just not doing anything. They're not creating. They're just like, but yeah, it's gestating right now. Whatever that stuff that's inside that they're trying to get out, they're gestating. They're getting prepared, and then once it's like ready to come out, it's going to come out. But yeah, there's a lot of outside factors that kind of stop that. Is that kind of along the lines of what you're saying?
It is. Do you feel? Do you feel like? When did you start GMing?
So first time I like GM'd was in second grade.
It was in second grade.
Yeah. It wasn't, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then I GM'd a couple times, like in the late 90s. Maybe 4 or 5 times. And then,
because you told me you were like an artist trying to find his medium.
Yeah. So and I didn't quite realize, and I wasn't back then. I was not a good GM. I didn't really know what to do, right? And I was just kind of making stuff up, and it was like hard to kind of pull that out of myself. And
that's
like,
what you do.
And
that's what you do at the beginning.
I pull that stuff out of the players, and then like after that, after I moved to Austin, like I was like, I really want to create some sort of art. I just felt like an artist without a medium. Like I want to do something maybe audio visual, like something writing involved, music involved, something.
But not only that.
But yeah, so like something kind of like had a bunch of the other stuff, and I only felt that it worked when I had somebody to bounce stuff off of, right? And so having the players there. Like that's when I said like like 2 years a little over 2 years ago, when I said sure I'll GM this one shot with a bunch of random people that just showed up at the bar, ended up being 12 people.
One shot, yeah. It happened 100 times later, yeah.
And so and then I was just on, and I was doing it like I didn't even like think about it.
You were ready,
but I was ready. Like I think everything was, I guess, building to that.
You were ready,
kind of that spot where now I was like in doing that performance in front of this crowd, and it was, it was fantastic. I had like stuff prepared, but I was able to like change stuff up for the players that were there, I had players come up to me like, yeah, I want to be in your games from now. I was like, well, I'm not running a regular game right now, but thank you.
There was and so the reason I ask is I was going to ask, how do you when 'cause I'm always afraid of being like the precious princess. Like I try really hard not to be that. And I'm like so maybe it's just a me problem, but like how do you continue to create when you are going through those patches where like it's rough? It's rough out here, like it's hard. um but you still are trying to show up for your players. You're still trying to be like creative and really share like your love of the your love of the hobby. To me it's an art form, etc. Like what do you tap into? And it's frustrating, Krishna, because there have been many times in my life, there have been many activities in my life, I feel like I have to get that piece of me back where like when I trained several different martial arts, but like one of them, the first one was Taekwondo, and I could get on that mat and no matter what was happening in real life, the house I grew up with, the home I grew up with was not the best. And it's like, no matter what was going on in that home, when I was on that mat, it didn't matter. I was free of it. It was just me and uh, Yu Sensei, even though it's a different word in Korean, but and the teacher and the people who were on that journey with me, and it was beautiful and edifying and like incredibly grounding, and then also the physicality of it. And like I feel it's very hard for me to do that now. I can do it when I'm in the studio. I can.
Yeah, because the studio is the wrestling mat.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's powerful. And then I have, 6 excellent faces of those players looking at me, depending on the game, 4 of course Estrad. And then, okay, I'm there. But it's like all the other times, the prep for it, the writing. I love writing. And it's been very hard to write lately. I've been sitting at the last 20. I've been sitting and looking at the last 20 pages of the book. 20 pages of the book, longer than I want to comment on camera. It's been a hot minute, and I've been looking at it, and I'm like, what good god awful neurons are not firing in my brain beats that this is not happening? So anyway.
Yeah, so like how to create when you're not in that space, like
At all.
Yeah, the space where the players are there, you're at the table, and that's where the magic just happens. The stuff is flying like existential jazz
That you can do. Yeah, no, like that.
But before outside of that,
but it's the before.
Outside of that,
right?
When we're like, oh, this freaking. We're in this meat suit and trying to deal with how you feel. You really feel the matter of the universe and everything around you, and it's hard to focus on that thing, and like you're trying to wrestle that muse. And
muse is a good word for it.
And it's tough. It's tough. So I try to get as much as I can done as early as possible, like each week when I'm doing that stuff. But then I get a lot of stuff done when it's just the deadline. It's like it's gotta happen.
That's human.
And that's human. And
yeah.
and there's so Charles Bukowski, he worked for the post office in the mail center, and his thing was to sort into different addresses and in different zip codes. And he got an opportunity to write a book. He quit his job so he can take time off to write that book, and he knocked it out. I can't remember which one it was, but he knocked it out real quick, and the publisher was like, how the hell did you get that done so fast? He said, fear. Like if I didn't get that done, then I would have to go back, right? I had to get it done, right? I had no choice. Like so, like it was everything was on the line for him to get that done at that time because there was no like pushing back the deadline, right? He had a
Fear's a
certain
hell of
he
a
had, he had
motivator.
a certain amount that he was given like I think that was given to live off of while he's writing the book, and if it didn't happen by this time, he would be broke. So it was, and so it's that fear. It's like if I don't get this done now, then I'm going to have nothing for tonight's game. So I got to get it done now.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I hear that, and it's a hell of a motivator. I think it's interesting, and this, of course, this is just how the universe works, right? That uh, I feel like I'm kind of at low ebb right now, and so of course this is the first time we're recording. Um, and even now, though, I'm remembering what I have said before, which is in the studio I keep um, the same trauma bag that I what a name um, that I used as a medic in Iraq as a combat medic. I was with a Marine Corps grunt unit for you know those watching who don't know that, and I was not a Marine. I was in the Navy, but all 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 Marine. Don't tell don't tell the devil dogs this, but the Marines are actually a department of the Navy. And so if you ever hear like a Marine medic or a Marine doctor, there is no such thing. They're actually they're all Navy
Right.
personnel who've been integrated into that unit. Okay, so um, but and it's not the full pack, but there was a bag that I would wear in combat, and that I've done some really important work with, you know, and I keep that under the table where I can touch it with my foot because there have been some days that have been rough in that room, and that like is the physical reminder of what I'm doing for at least campaign one, because it's a war story, and it is not like I started out, it is, and I've talked about at length elsewhere, like it was not the campaign I thought I was going to run when we started. So yeah, I'm just whew, and this may seem like a non sequitur, but like, have you ever heard the phrase "depression is anger turned inward"?
Oh, okay.
Uh, and I don't think that that's not the entirety of it, but I think that that is always the backbone of it, that is always the spine of it.
Mhm.
And I'm really I'm like experiencing that right now and feeling that right now. And it's preferable to lashing out and hurting other people, but of course, what really has to happen is that things have to move and get unstuck and resolve, and creativity in life, and camaraderie have to begin to flow again, or at least that's my aim, because I'm not going to live here. I don't mean in this beautiful apartment. I
Yes.
mean, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is
In
not the
this
mental
state.
space,
Yeah.
this mental space, this heart space. Like I'm not going to live here. It is part of who and what I am, and I'm more willing to accept that now. But like this is definitely, as Alanis has said, before, as Alanis Morissette has said before, we are not our worst day. Uh, and so yeah, I'm just like, I'm glad one of us is. I mean, you did all of this yourself. I told you you were maybe a little bit amused and surprised, not necessarily in that order, when I said I feel guilty. When I saw you had done everything, and you said why, and I said because someone has done something for me, and you like made all of this ex nihilo, out of nothing, even though your story might be different, but for me it was out of nothing. I had no idea I thought we were just going to get back on, jump on a call like we did when I interviewed you, Krishna. And it was like, oh crap, this is a whole thing. Okay. And uh and it's like I wasn't even necessarily going to film today because of how I was feeling. Like I didn't bring my armor. I didn't bring my GM ceremonial garb, however you want to look at it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's armor.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a priestess's garb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depends for me. And uh, um, but then like the invitation as we were sitting there was so strong from you, because you've created. Getting a little verklempt here. Because you created this space. The mother of my heart taught me a long time ago that tears are spirit moving through us.
Yeah. And we're getting a little verklempt over here. Here, let me give you guys something. A opportunity attack can be done upon your teammates as well as your foes. Discuss.
Especially when they're having a moment. That's an interesting shtick. Should we throw in some interesting rules thing every time?
Oh yeah. I mean that's the.
There are some absurd rules.
Yeah, there are some absurd rules, and well, so I say this because that is the hot topic of the day, or the week, I guess, for D&D. Everybody's debating because
interesting. Okay.
In 2014, the rule, not to sidetrack your like this very emotional part of what you're going.
I won't let us. We'll get
what you're going through there. Like, yeah, was it tears are emotion moving? What was it?
Tears are spirit moving through us.
Tears are spirit moving through this. Write that down. Put that in your next game. Okay, that's an awesome quote. So
even when they're terrifying,
yeah,
probably especially
when they're terrifying. Yeah,
because because it's like I don't have any street cred with the people watching this. Like they don't like who the hell is this maniac just coming on and blubbering like I'm. So among many of my other skills is massage therapy. I've taught massage therapy before. I've been a massage therapist for a long time, and that's a whole it's I say I have 3 art forms. One of them is massage therapy, storytelling, and martial arts. So in my life, and like the very first massage you ever give somebody, you don't have street cred with that person. Their body doesn't know you, that person doesn't know you, their energy doesn't know you. Like you have to really mind your P's and Q's, and you have to be very respectful and also really effective to me. Really effective to me when I was teaching my students. They later on you can try all these things and you can do these things and you could explain to them. And so anyway, I'm just like sitting over here, God, do I even deserve to be in front of a camera tonight? I don't know how scintillating the conversation is, but at least it's uplifting. And so I just want to say, your invitation was so strong that I was compelling, and so that's why I'm sitting up here.
Glad you came out.
That's why I'm sitting up here.
Okay, one, I'm so glad you came out.
I fucking adore you,
Krishna. I needed you to come out. I can't. I need this interaction. The first 2 times we did this, it was like, okay, this is something that absolutely want to have in my life, and I want to have this interaction. And I think maybe some other people other GMs or other players, or you don't even have to be into games. Maybe they can get a lot out of this. And I think you have a lot of really interesting, cool stories that I want to delve into. And on top of that, and it's like
I've lived some life, man.
Yeah, I have.
Ridiculous.
And I'm ecstatic that you came out, because you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. And so, yeah, I'm very, very happy that we met, and I'm very happy that we have this rapport.
I told you after that first conversation, I think we're going to know each other a long time.
Yeah.
And I do.
I think so too. Well, we'll keep doing it until we have nothing to talk about for 5 hours, right?
Come on, we're both yappers.
Really,
we're both. Sometimes I'm a depressed yapper, but we're both yappers.
Well, and not that I'm saying I love that you're depressed, but I love. I'm not saying oh yeah, that's so great. No. But one of the things I really enjoy the time with you is that you can express these really deep emotions, and you can weave it together in a story, and it's not just up here. It's the full iceberg when I'm talking to you. So there's a lot of meat to this sandwich that we're digging into. So it's and that's the type of conversation
or tofu if you're vegetarian.
Yeah, or tofu. The tofu meat, yeah,
tofurkey. Every Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so and that's the type of stuff that I like to talk about. Like if we're sitting talking about the weather or the small talk, I will shut off. Like I'll be cool chilling, but I will have nothing to say in that conversation. And then I just kind of I get kind of bored. I'm like, I'll just chill and do my, but but when we're talking about like stuff that's like really deep, like
one thing I have had clarity on for a very long time, long before I was an adult, was that my life was not going to be lived on the surface. That for better and for worse, when it is agonizing, when it is exaltation I'm experiencing, it was all going to be vivid. It was all going to be in vivid, resplendent color or horrific color, and that has been my life. There was one period where I was completely checked out, and that was hell. But all the rest of it, that part, it was like, what is the point here, and I just, the rest of it, I knew like I was gonna have to really, really, really live it. And the way that you approach, I haven't known you very long, Krishna, but the way that you approach life and that you approach your relationships that I've seen so far, and just the way that you carry yourself through the world is with such brio, and just like love of the moment and what you're doing, that it's inspiring to me. Like that is exactly what I need in this moment. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad I could be there for you. That's awesome.
A lot.
Hey, let's take a quick break, and I want to check, like, see if everything's like recording.
Okay. I was actually going to say that might be a good place to leave it for tonight, just because I feel like I'm keeping my producer who gave me a ride over here hostage.
I can give you a ride home.
I know you can.
But if
I feel like he and I are gonna.
If you want to leave, that's fine.
I don't want to leave your presence, but I want to leave with that man.
Oh, okay.
I do not actually want to leave your presence. But...
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
Okay, well, my name is Christian Wymore, aka Vino Veritas, and my counterpart. This is where you say your name.
This is the part.
Yeah, this is the part where you look at the camera and say, and tell everybody who you are, what your deal is.
Angel.
the Angel. You can see their stream, Darkport, darkport.com, right?
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
There actually is a darkport.com as well.
DARKEPORT. Yeah, and some fantastic streaming games from this lovely soul right here. And this has been GM Rants.
Thank y'all so much for taking the time out of all the gazillion different things you could be doing with that most precious resource to come and spend that with us and see me mope about and see this person make me feel better on camera.
Well, we definitely got to do more of these. And I had a great time. So I always have a great time with you. So we got to keep doing it. And tune in for more awesome laughs and cries.
Whatever, I'm willing to discuss pretty much whatever. So.
But bye, silly friends.
Bye.
To you at home, all right? us here, all right, we want to hug it out with you. Wherever you're at, feel this energy, and we're all gonna hug it out. All right,
what we're gonna
do.
Okay.
All right, peace. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, I think we gotta end every session with a hug out.
That's what we gotta do. Okay.
We're hugging our way out, like hugging our way off stage.